Fun note about Big Bird. The idea of Big Bird is a character modeled on an easily flustered 4-year-old who needs a lot of help. And I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
An
Big Bird is
easily flustered 4-year-old that needs a lot of help.
Early Big Bird is terrifying. If you want to ever have fun.
Yeah.
Google a picture of early Big Bird because the modern Big Bird has gone through decades of textures.
Cute.
Fluffy, eyes are big. The original, there's like you can really tell it's a guy's hand up there. And like the way it's draped. So one of the things I've always found really funny is there was a Far Side comic. Remember Far Side with Gary Larson?
Absolutely.
I remember seeing this as a kid, and it was a drawing it was like an X-ray of like a dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
I think this is what it was. X-ray of a dinosaur and it showed like the bones.
Yeah.
And then it was an X-ray of like Big Bird, and it showed like a man with the arm all the way up. I don't know if my arm's in frame, but he's like, the arm's straight. And I remember as a kid immediately being like, that didn't terrify me. I understood that that Big Bird was a puppet.
Yeah.
I understood it was a man in a suit. What terrified me though is I assumed by I think the early 90s that his mouth wasn't a hand.
Yeah.
I assumed that there was a guy in there who's in a suit who had both his hands free for the arms.
Yeah.
And that he was wearing a stalk thing with an animatronic to move the head and mouth. That's what I assumed.
Nope.
No, there's just a guy in there who 6, 7, 8 hours a day has his right arm up in the arm.
Strong arm.
Just right arm up for how many? Like it's just.
My arm would go to sleep if I did that.
I think about this all the time with the Muppeteers. Yeah. Sorry, the Marpeteers. Their arms are just up.
Their arms are up.
How you remember as a kid? I want all the listeners right now. And all the viewers, all the people. Take your arm and raise it. Just raise your arm. Just raise it like you're in school. And just hold it up there for a bit. Just hold it up there. And just sing a song. Sing in your head.
Make it happy.
Make it happy? What's the song? I don't remember that song.
You going to keep your arm up for the rest of this until you get tired?
No. I'm just saying, it's like if you keep it up and you feel the blood flow out of it, and now move your hand a little bit. Just start moving just your hand. And just feel like what that feels like. And it's like, there's a guy inside that suit. We've never seen a shot of the guy in the Big Bird costume bring his arm down.
No, he lives like that.
He has to. Because think of how terrifying it would be to see Big Bird deflated.
That's not true. He does put his arms down because he also does Oscar the Grouch.
No, I'm saying though, anybody's in the suit. Carol Spinney, the original guy. Spivey? Spinny. So like it's just one of those things where I always think about that all the time. Like when I was a kid, I loved puppets, and I remember seeing that image from the Far Side. It made me be like, oh, I don't want to be a puppeteer.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a Muppet puppeteer because back in the day, the old guys, the ones who were pre-Henson, they would do Punch and Judy, right, with the little curtain, and so they were kind of sticking their hand straight out through a curtain and going like this, so they could kind of rest their arm. The Muppets are doing something different, which is they use the television frame as the Punch and Judy theater box.
Yeah.
And that's where Jim Henson's different from all the other guys because he's like, oh, you're seeing all that's inside the box. So he's framing everything through there. So all of them are just below sticking their hands in and watching a monitor down below.
Yeah.
So they're all just holding their arms up for fucking decades.
So a Far Side comic is the reason you didn't become Jeff Dunham?
Okay. That's a ventriloquist. I didn't want to ever be a ventriloquist. Okay. The reason I didn't become Jeff Dunham.
Wait, also, fun fact, the original Big Bird that you said, like, his head looks crazy, is because he was actually that skeleton of that puppet outfit was actually originally a dragon because he got repurposed from a LaChoy campaign that Jim Henson had done.
Oh, LaChoy, like the chop noodle, chop suey noodles and all that type of stuff. Yeah, that's crazy.
So it was a LaChoy ad he had done in like the...
But that proves that dinosaurs are birds.
There it is.
That proves that dinosaurs are birds. It was a dragon, right?
It was a dragon.
It was a dragon, so he was a lizard that turns into a big bird.
Yep. I'm saying.
And look what happened. But also a lot of the Marpets are actually... I'm making you so mad. A lot of them are reused. A lot of them are
for sure.
reused across, as you were saying, from his original ideas as a kid, and then through
And
all
Kermit
these
has
different,
fully become a frog by this point.
yeah. But all these different things are they would we'll try this over here and try this over here.
Also, one little piece of canon that I have about Sesame
Ooh,
Street, little
canon,
secret
canon.
canon. Did you know that Oscar the Grouch is orange? This is canon.
Really?
Oscar the Grouch is orange, but he visited a swamp in the early seasons of Sesame Street, and he got colored green from the swamp water, and he just hasn't washed it off. That's a canon event.
Okay. I know I know that this is a deep dive episode and people are looking for respite, but this makes so much sense because of that one episode of Sesame Street where the guy, the
Donald Trump Oscar?
the Donald Trump Oscar, and all the other Grouches are orange.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm the most orange.
Yeah.
Oscar's actually orange?
He's actually, I assume that it was just like early testing was like kids didn't like the orange and that they turned him green.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was green because of the swamp water and stuff. He hasn't washed. He just hasn't taken a shower because he lives in a garbage can. It's a little Oscar the Grouch. I love Oscar the Grouch. One of my
That
one
is
of my top
so,
fives.
yeah, during the second season. That's so crazy.
So Bert was played by Frank Oz and Ernie is played by Jim Henson. Now there's been speculation for years that they represented a gay couple, which according to the team, they did not. They were supposed to show kids you can be friends with someone who frustrates you. But in 2018, Frank Oz tweeted, quote, "If Jim and I created Bert and Ernie as gay characters, they would have been inauthentic, coming from two straight men. However, I have learned that many view them as a representative of a loving gay relationship, and that's pretty wonderful. Thank you for helping me understand."
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's nice.
I love that.
I think there was always that feeling we were watching that.
Because we were joking. We watch Sesame Street every day, and I'm like, they're roommates.
Yeah, but they were roommates.
And they were roommates.
And they were close friends.
Yeah.
No, I think that the other part that's actually very different about Bert and Ernie back in the day is that it was more rare for people to have roommates.
Yeah.
I think they actually slowly become less. You have less of it now because so many people have to live with roommates longer.
Yeah.
There's less people with adult roommates. I mean, more people with adult roommates now because of the changes, especially in the American economy.
Yeah.
I think when the characters are first rolled out in the 70s, even in the 80s, it's like, yeah, you have roommates when you're at college, maybe your early 20s.
Yeah.
And then the people who still have roommates, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like that was like that 80s joke.
Yeah.
And then the 90s, especially the 2000s, especially once we hit the 2008 recession.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I mean, shit, you and I were living together with a roommate at one point.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's just something that now people carry roommates into their 30s, 40s. Sometimes people never live without roommates.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes. And that is because of private equity.
Yeah.
And who we need to talk about.
I don't want to talk about private equity. Let's talk about Kermit. So Kermit was on Sesame Street for a little bit of time. He's not known for Sesame Street. He was a little bit there. But this is one Sesame Street is where he sang Being Green for the first time.
It's not easy being green?
It ain't easy being green. It's just titled Being Green.
Oh, Being Green.
But yeah, that's the first time that song ever came out. And it was really different for the time because it's a very introspective, somewhat like melancholy song.
Yeah.
And you didn't really have those for kids. Kids' songs were usually like, bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
But this is like a really, melancholy song about being different, but it was a good message. So that was the first time that song got sung.
It's also clearly a song about racism.
Yeah.
And accepting yourself and, just everything about that. And even Kermit, who is green, he's not white, he's not black, he's not yellow or red or brown or any other color. He's green, one we don't usually think of because people usually aren't. And even he still has problems. Yeah. And he still views it that way of all these different things. And it's interesting. One thing that I find, especially from stuff from the 70s, even into the early 80s, when artists were a little bit more artistic, especially with children's stuff, is that they would take a little bit more chances and actually trust that the kids would understand what the hell's happening. And even if the kids didn't understand, it wouldn't harm them.
Yeah. Kids are a lot smarter than people give them credit for.
Kids are a lot smarter. Not they were, they are.
I know, as I said.
I know, I'm just saying in general. Yeah. I'm not saying to you. I think kids are a lot smarter, and I think that if people have faith that a child can understand, that they should at least attempt.
Yeah.
And I think there's less chances at attempts these days, because also we're not making shit.
Yeah, people don't make, because all of the children's shows are crazy.
Hey, you made it to the end of this clip from one of our full episodes. Do you want to see the whole episode? Go down to the show notes right here and go click on the link and you can watch the whole thing. Or are you looking for more Too Many Tabs content? If you haven't already liked and subscribed, check out this playlist right here. It has all of our episodes that we've uploaded to YouTube. Check us out. Too Many Tabs. Pearlmania, Pearlmania.